Ahmadinejad got 11 million votes more than the second place candidate. That's a gigantic majority. And if someone's suggesting that someone sat in a room and put 11 million X's on ballot papers, I simply don't believe them. I wasn't in the room counting the votes, but then neither was the BBC, but that hasn't stopped them having a point of view. Let's take an email on the comment wall. Mehdi in Iran, what's going on? I believe it looks as an orange revolution in the Ukraine, a velvet one in Georgia, this time Americans trying the green one in Iran. I hope our nation will be wise enough to recognize the trap which is prepared for our nation. Well, there may very well be foreign hands behind some of the activities, but the people who are on the streets protesting are Iranians. They are Iranian citizens. They believed that their candidate was going to win the election. They're suffering very great disappointment. Some of them feel that they were cheated, and they're entitled to make that complaint, and they're entitled to demonstrate in support of it. So it wouldn't be, I think, fair to write off all those people who are campaigning against the election result as somehow foreign agents. What's undoubtedly true is that the Western media, even the best of them, have gone completely overboard on a basis which just doesn't stand up. They were not in the count. They have no way of knowing what the real outcome of the Iranian election was, any more than they know what happens in the count in other countries when they have elections. And they certainly don't know what's going to happen in elections in the Persian Gulf region because, well, there aren't any elections at all. Let's take a telephone call. Yes, caller, where are you calling from?
Hello, Mr. Galloway. I'm calling from London. Well, fantastic show, by the way.
Thanks very much. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just calling in regard to this Iranian election. In my view, I think Mr. Ahmadinejad had won the election in a very open way. Voted 24 million out of, I think, possible 46 million who voted. Therefore, I think, as not Iranian, obviously, I'm speaking on behalf of course, as a non-Iranian citizen. So I think the election was quite open, but I think the Western media has blown the issue out of proportion.
Yeah, well, look, there's no one can deny that it was open because we all saw it on television. We saw a presidential election unprecedented in its frankness, where the president of a country on television is having a toe-to-toe scrap with his main challenger in a way that was quite unprecedented television. I had never myself seen anything quite like it. People were openly campaigning in the election. There was a real choice. But I said here, and I stand by it, Ahmadinejad speaks to the poor masses in Iran. He looks like them. He lives like them. He lives the same life he lived before he became a president. He skews the economic policies of the country towards the poor, towards the rural areas. And I was in no doubt that there are far more poor people and rural people in Iran than there are people around about the environs of the five-star hotels in downtown Tehran or in North Tehran who speak English and are happy to talk to Western journalists. That was my take on it from here. But I don't know, of course, what happened in the counting booth after the polling closed, but neither does anybody else. So why is the automatic assumption that some kind of monumental cheat occurred just because the candidate favored by the West didn't win? That's really the big question, isn't it? Let's take another one. Yes. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, hello, George.
Hello there.
This is Jalil, and I'm calling you from London, England.
Welcome, sir. Go ahead.
The election in Iran is not really about Mousavi. It's Rafsanjani. He's the main power. He has been elected by fraud, and he gained all the money. And now they are pushing him back. After Ahmadinejad came to the power, he pushed him back, and he is scared to be thrown out. And that's my view, because in the other hand, and Western media has been so, to my idea, double standard. They see Iranian only 6 or 5 million rich or young people in north of Tehran. They don't see Basij, and poor people, which is, to my opinion, they are really voting this vote for Ahmadinejad.
Well, that's very interesting. I don't know the the basis for that. I do think that it probably cost Mr. Mousavi some votes to be thought to be associated with the former President Rafsanjani. But these are, in the end, matters for the people of Iran. It's not my business, really, who's up, who's down between these big players in Iranian politics. It's really a matter for Iran. And this is something that I think the Western commentators would be well advised to take on board. That insofar as they're seen to be interfering in Iran's internal affairs, they're actually weakening the people that they think that they're supporting. Because Iranians are proud people. They didn't have a revolution to get rid of the tyrant, only to allow the tyrants to come back through the back door. Thanks very much indeed for your call. Let's take another one. Yes, hello, caller. Yes, hello.
Good evening, Mr. Galloway.
Good evening, sir. Go ahead.
Actually, the Islamic Republic of Iran has got all the right to be proud of its democratic election. Even the protests of the opposition is a proof of that democracy. You, I'm sure, remember the count and recount of Al Gore and George Bush, the son, when the losing part protested and was not happy with the result and all that. But it was few hundred votes. This is, as you rightly said, Mr. Galloway, 11 million votes. I think this is a proof of the democratic process in Iran, but democracy needs to mature and the opposition needs to have some more maturity. I heard some of those protesting saying, where did my vote go? I'm afraid it went to the losing candidate. So,
well, I wish I couldn't have put that better myself. Indeed, I wish I had introduced the Al Gore, George Bush logjam into the debate. I must be more jet-lagged than I imagined. It's absolutely correct that in the United States, in the year 2000, the election was actually stolen by George W. Bush. As became clear afterwards, Bush did not win that election. He did not win Florida, and therefore he was not the legitimate president of the United States. Now that was a long-running controversy, but it didn't delegitimize in the eyes of other Western countries or the Western media overwhelmingly the presidency of George W. Bush. And with that presidency, we saw that he dragged the world into war and disaster. So you're absolutely correct. This is partly in the context of maturity. Iran has only been a democratic country for 30 years. But in those 30 years, it's come a long way. And the fact that we on Iranian international TV are having this unscripted, unfiltered debate about what happened in the election is proof of democracy Iranian style. It must be proof of it. Do you think if this was a Saudi television station, that they would allow me on live TV, not knowing at all what I'm going to say, to be conducting a debate with you phoning in, no one knowing what you're going to say? This is proof of the change that occurred in Iran over the last 30 years. Hallelujah, I say. Thanks very much for your call. Let's take another call, shall we? They're coming in thick and fast. Yes. Hello, caller.
Hi.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Hi, how are you, George?
I'm well, thanks. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from USA.
Welcome.
Thank you for your program. You know, it's the best, you know, I watch and I listen, but today I just turned it up, your show. And I am very happy that a lot of people are awake and know what's going on, you know, over there.